welcome back to another video. Today I want to share with you one of the most amazing experiences I've had out in the Coral Sea. I went out to Bougainville Reef and I dived the dive site called Dungeons and Dragons. And then I also swam with a bunch of sharks because at the Coral Sea, what else do you do? So I had this amazing adventure. We found a dive site called Dungeons and Dragons, which is essentially just a whole bunch of caves and canyons just intermingled with each other. You feel like you're walking through a dungeon in the game D&D, minus the scary monsters, but sometimes you think, oh, what's around that corner? I don't know. But it was absolutely phenomenal to explore. The life was so rich and abundant in Bougainville Reef. It is by far one of my favorite dive sites in the Coral Sea, and it blows my mind. Check this out as I'm swimming through, and you just have all these fish that aren't quite sure what you're doing. You're like, excuse me, this is my cave. What are you, weird bubble blower, doing in my cave? And I'm like, yo, man, I just want to chill out in your cave. So I'm swimming through, and you just see all these beautiful fish inside the caves. And then when it opens up, you have walls and walls of coral and fish, and it is amazing, and it is so vibrant and beautiful. I think one of the things that stood out the most to me was there was this huge parrotfish, a humphead parrotfish, that was just sitting on top of a coral bommy, just floating there. It just seemed like it was a sentry for his family, like meerkats sometimes have little sentries that watch out for their family. It just sat there and had the perfect view of the entire reef as its family just swam around, eating bits of algae around the coral, just chilling, pooping, vibing. That's what the fish do. And this guy was just sitting up top going like, yes, this is my kingdom. And then I got into some other caves. So I saw a shark go into a cave system. So, logically I follow. And again, it's just the exploration of all the nooks and crannies and making sure that I don't lose my way, because it's very easy to get lost in those caves. But they're not caves. It's not cave diving in the traditional sense. I still had easy access to the surface. I wasn't going deep into caves where I couldn't get out. I was making sure that I was backtracking a lot. So it's not cave diving in the traditional sense, but I think it's sort of what we call cave diving, and more it's like canyon diving. Still amazing to see how these structures form in the ocean. And then I got to have this amazing experience diving with sharks in the Coral Sea. I was quite fond of a couple of sharks, in particular, 2 silver tips. Now, silver tips are sort of known to be a little bit cheeky. They're cheeky sharks. So this one coming up to me now, I called her Jacqueline, little Jackie. You can tell she's Jackie because the tips that go along her fin are thicker than the other one, who I've called Tiffany. Now, Jackie is definitely a more confident shark and a bolder shark than Tiffany. So as I'm swimming around the bait box, Jacqueline comes up and is a little bit unhappy with me. So she sort of gets a bit close and she's like, I want box food. Give me box food. And I was like, okay, Jackie. So I backed off a little bit, and it's important to watch sharks' behavior in this. So the shark was not happy with my position, and you could see with like her frequent movements, her speedy movements, that she wasn't terribly happy with me. And then as she turned around, she put her fins down, which she does a couple of times during this video, and it just means that she's not terribly comfortable when they put their fins down like that. It means that they are uncomfortable with the situation. So as you can see here, the bait box actually touched her a bit. So the bait box is attached to the boat, and the boat's rocking at the surface, and sometimes the bait box rocks as well. And it just so happened to probably tap her, and she wasn't expecting it, so she swims off, and you can see that quick movement, and then she puts her fins down, which means she's not happy, but then she sort of gets over it, and her fins come back up. So that's a little bit of shark behavior. If you do see a shark that is getting a bit close and is putting their fins down, it probably just means that they're not terribly happy with your position in the water. And mind you, I was on top of the bait box. I probably wasn't doing the smartest thing, but I had my buddies with me watching my back. Now I was watching Jackie, and Jackie let me know in her own sharky way that she wasn't happy with me. And you can see she also says she's not happy with other sharks. I think Jackie's just not a generally happy shark. But I was happy to watch Jackie. She was a darling girl. So I moved up the line a little bit and continued to watch. And then I jumped in the water a bit later. And oh, this was exciting. So I jumped in the water. There's still bubbles in the GoPro lens. And before I can even get onto the line, guess what I see? That's right. I saw a tiger shark, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not ready for this. I wasn't expecting to see a tiger shark here. Generally, we don't see big sharks. We just see our reefies and our silver tips. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go hold up onto this line and get a little bit closer to the boat. And so this beautiful tiger shark, who I've called Claire, has now gone off. And I'm like, oh, actually, that's a bit sad if it's my only encounter with the tiger, because they seem to be a bit shyer in these waters than the other sharks. So sometimes you might see a huge hammerhead, but it takes one look at you and goes, actually, no, I don't want to deal with you. And they go away. So they seem to be a bit of a shyer animal, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to get cocky. Because again, this animal has potential to kill me. And when you're in the water with sharks, it is important to respect, love, and understand them. All right? None of this like fear-mongering business. It is just respect, love, and understanding. So I'm looking around. I've now gone quite a far away from the bait box, so I'm trying to disassociate myself from the food. I am now just a bubble-blowing creature that is probably about 8 to 10 meters above the bait box. I'm sitting at about 3 to 5 meters depth myself. So then I look down, and Claire comes up from the depths, and she comes towards me. Now, it's important when interacting with a shark and any predator in general is to not turn your back to them. As you can see, the shark comes up, and it starts to sort of circle around, and I'm just facing her the whole time, facing her, facing her, facing her, as she swims around. And then she sort of disappears into the blue, which I think is just incredible how these animals can just vanish. Ah, it's amazing. Mind you, at this point, my heart is pounding. I'm so excited. I'm a little bit nervous. This is my first encounter with a tiger shark, and it is amazing. It's phenomenal. I can't explain to you how amazing it is to see these animals in the wild, in their habitat. She is the queen. I am just there. So then I'm just looking over my shoulder, and I turn my head, and then she comes out of the blue again. And I just see this tiger shark now. She's kind of shallow. She's above me now. So she's probably 1 to 2 meters depth. I'm about 3 to 5 meters depth. But she's a distance away from me, maybe 3, 4 meters, 5 meters away from me. And she sort of takes one look at me, and she says her goodbye and swims off. And that was a remarkable interaction with the tiger shark. I was safe. Nothing went wrong. She was just there to check me out. Sharks are not bloodthirsty, brainless monsters. Most interactions with the shark, you won't even know you're having one. They'll just suss you from a distance. I like to think that great whites have definitely seen me. I've not seen them, But I can be very confident a great white has seen me in the water without a cage, and it's left me alone. Because I used to dive a lot in South Australia. And I've had a few friends who've seen some sharks, some great whites there, and have been fine. They're not teddy bears. They're not cuddly things that you can go up and give a pet. They need to be respected. They need to be loved. They need to be understood. And if you do those three things, you will have the most incredible encounters with a wild animal and be blessed by their presence. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Anyway, thank you guys for watching the video. Thank you for sharing my experience with me. You're all awesome. And until next time, I'll see you around. Bye!